Hey guys, GhazzyTV here with another Craft of Exile crafting guide. In this video, we're going to tackle the next step of crafting from this entire huge project that we're working on, which will teach you how to craft actual items in Path of Exile rather than learning how to craft X or Y item. We're going to teach you how to actually craft items. So with that said, I want to point out that this video is going to tackle fossil crafting exclusively, but there's a lot of information that we've covered in the basic introduction to this series, which you need to understand to be able to follow along with this video. Links in the descriptions down below to the start of this video series. I do want to point out that this video might become outdated in the future, and therefore there will be an available written guide version in the links descriptions below as well, which will be kept up to date at all times. So to start off with the fossil crafting, I'm showing off the crafting tab for fossil, or the tab in game for fossils, and you don't necessarily need to have this, but it makes it a lot smoother as you can put in an item in one of the slots and use a resonator in the other slot if you'd so like. But we're going to start off with the very basic information, such as what do these fossils actually do? For example, Jagged Fossil makes it so that there will be more physical modifiers, but there won't be any chaos modifiers available. Dense Fossils will make it so that there are more defense modifiers, but no life modifiers. There's no information on exactly what this does and how more likely it is that these modifiers will appear, but it is very clear that this type of crafting will block entirely all of the life modifiers on the item that you're crafting with. So we're going to utilize Craft of Exile, as always, and we're going to use the Goat-Tide boots that we have in our inventory. The Goat-Tide boots are rather low item level, we'll get to that in a bit, but first things first, you can click on fossils in choosing a crafting method. By choosing fossils, you're able to actually hover over these to understand better what they actually do. So for this example, we talked about the Jagged Fossil. It will block chaos modifiers entirely, and here we will see that this will increase the weighted value of the modifier pools that has a physical tag. This is why it's very important that you start off this video series with the initial basic video to understand what the weighted pool actually means. So in this case, we're looking at physical tagged modifiers on these pair of boots. There are none. However, we did look at the dense fossil as well, and here it says defenses tag has a ×10 value, whereas it cannot roll any life modifiers whatsoever. In this case, we can see that in prefix list, there are defense tags, and there's also 2 life tags, and on the suffix section, there's no defense tags, however, there is a couple. Oh, there's 1 life tag there. So if I were to click on the dense fossil to use this in this crafting example in Craft of Exile, this will darken out and basically tell you that these modifiers will be unable to roll on the item if you include that specific fossil. Also, you can see the weighted modifier value went up tons, which is 10 times the value on all of the modifiers that had a defensive tag. And obviously, this is only with 1 fossil. You can mix and match up to 4 fossils with the use of a 4-socket resonator. And this is how you can create crafting methods that will completely block out certain modifiers, or guarantee in some cases other modifiers as well. So this is how fossil crafting actually works. What's really cool when it comes to the Craft of Exile tool for this is that if you choose to say that, hey, I want to craft a pair of Goat-Tide boots in this example, they have no influences, I want to use fossil crafting, and I'd like a tier 3 or higher, or say a tier 3 or higher life with tier 2 or higher movement speed, and I'm okay with that. You can then click on the compute best selection button up here. This will then run all of the combination of fossils that you can use in the resonators from 1, 2, 3, and 4 resonators, and then list out which the fossil optimizer will do for you in terms of which is the most cost effective and which one is the one that hits it in the least amount of tries. This will tell you that if you use a 4-socket resonator, these stats on the item, the other modifiers could be anything, would take you 6 tries. However, it will cost you a lot less currency if you were to use pristine fossils, but you would need to use it 23 times in only a 1-socket resonator. So this is a cool way to guarantee and check out crafting methods. We're going to use another example, which is rather popular when it comes to Minion builds, and that is using a Convoking Wand, and the stats you're looking for would be +1 to the level of all spell skills and 1 plus the level of minion skills. The interest that we're looking for here is the +2 to minions, essentially, and this will tell me to use a Jagged, Shattering, Corrode, and a Metallic Fossil, which would be an average of 1 in 12 to hit. This is something we've crafted for many leagues, but this is how we figure these things out and are able to play around with it, and the fossil optimizer with the compute best selection of Craft of Exile helps a ton when it comes to these things. Obviously, this doesn't include ways to check in if you are deciding to use another crafting method in between, or simply looking at using fewer fossils to have different outcomes instead. This is strictly looking at the mods that you've chosen to have on the item, and this will tell me that these 4 sockets will be the ones to use, and it's an average in 1 in 12 to hit. So that's how the crafting or compute best selection in Craft of Exile is actually utilized, and how the actual modifiers will be affected when it comes to the weighted value of these modifiers. We're going to look at etheric because it's a little bit different. Etheric fossil. Right here, it will actually say more cast modifiers, and then it says fewer attack modifiers. Now, in this case, it actually will be reducing the weighted value of attack modifiers by simply multiplying by 0.15. So instead of its original 1-to-1 value, it will instead be valued at 0.15, its original value. And then also increase the weighted modifier value of caster modifiers. So this doesn't entirely block things out. In the bound fossil, there's minion, aura, and curse modifiers will all be increased. And in corroded, you're blocking all types of elemental, which is fire, cold, and lightning tags, as well as the elemental tag modifiers as well. And this is why it's very important in general to understand how these systems actually work. So if you're looking at Go Tide boots as another example, again, we can see that the modifiers that you're looking for here has a different tag. For example, the defense is the speed, the defense, and life tag here. This one has both tags, so if you block one of them, this modifier can't roll. And this is very important in situations where you're looking to craft high endgame gear. Right now, spell suppression is extremely popular to be crafted. The problem with that is that spell suppression actually doesn't have any specific tag, which makes it very hard to actually target craft that specific modifier, and it just comes down to rolling the slot machine and a lot of RNG and luck. Another thing to point out is that you can use a 3-socket resonator, and you can socket in, say, 2 sockets of fossils in here, and you can actually take these out. As long as you have not filled the entire resonator, you're able to take them out. Now, with that stated, if you have a 1-socket resonator and say you put in a pristine fossil, you cannot take it out. The only thing you can do with this is move it around or use it. Another thing to point out is that similar to the essence crafting methods that we talked about in the previous video, these will reforge a rare item with a new random modifiers. This means that since the removal of the alchemical version of these will not reforge a white item, nor will they work on a magical item. So if I try to use this on a white pair, it will just say the target's not rare, and same thing for the magic ones. But I will be able to use them on the rare pair of boots I have here. And in this case, we used a pristine fossil. So we take a look at what happens with pristine fossil on this specific example. We can see that with that modifier or this fossil on Go Tide boots, we are blocking off all of these defense modifiers, and the only prefix modifiers that can roll is a rarity, movement speed, and HP. Looking at what we achieved, we got 2 of those prefixes, being life and movement speed, but we also have item level 13. Rarity can't roll till it's level 20. Because of this, we can see that both movement speed and life has available modifiers for this pool. So the only available prefixes on this specific pair of boots, because of its low item level, was actually only the life and movement speed. And we can do the same thing when it comes to the approach of the suffixes to go through that list as well. But what you can do that is much easier is to take the item level of these boots, 13, and just smack it in here and have that in the actual method. This will actually show you straight off the bat which modifiers can roll and which, if the highest, will be within parentheses that could roll on that base if the item level was higher. So that's the cool thing you can use Craft of Exile for, and how to understand fossil crafting in general and what it's used for. I do want to point out a couple of cool things as well. There's a perfect fossil, and we're going to go to an emulator and use that in here. And in here, you can actually practice crafting. And the perfect fossil actually works a little bit different. I'm going to take it up here, and we're going to choose it there. This will only improve the quality of the item. However, the problem is that it will roll between 15% up to 30% quality, but it will also reforge the entire item, because that is how these resonators work. So the resonator itself will reforge the item. The fossils will dictate what's going to happen when you do so. So in this case, you can roll perfect fossils to increase quality, and you can settle with higher percent quality if you're looking to do something bigger when it comes to like energy shield bases and so forth. Couple of other cool things is the sanctified fossil works in a different way, where there's higher tiers, so more likely, and the number is lucky. And these are more about the numerical value and having a higher chance of having a higher tier outcome on the fossils. Again, using the Craft of Exile compute path selection is the best way to go about it. However, there are some other actual cool things with this. If you use a gilded fossil, for example, it will generate another modifier implicit, which is item sells for much more to a vendor, and then you can vendor the item, and there's a random generated amount of currency you get from doing so. This was actually used quite some time ago to generate a lot of currency. No longer a strategy, though. Another cool thing is the glyphic fossil. Let's see if I can find it. The glyphic fossil is there. This one has a corrupted essence modifier. And this is again why it's very important to understand the weighted pools and understanding tag systems in Path of Exile crafting and modifier anatomy, if you will. And this will give you a corrupted essence. And now what is a corrupted essence? We're going to go to the essence tab. A corrupted essence is the horror, hysteria, insanity, and delirium. There we go. And these specific essences have different outcomes depending on which type of essence you're using. But this was actually all covered in the previous video, so I would recommend checking that out if you're interested. However, the glyphic fossil will give you one of those modifiers on the item you're crafting. So it will be as if you use one of those four, which one of them is completely random, obviously. So that's a couple of cool fossils that you can use in general. Hollow will actually generate an abyssal socket, which actually is a suffix modifier, which will create a abyssal socket in the item. And that's basically it. And that covers the generic approach of cross crafting, what it does to the items, how you can utilize it, and how you can optimize your usage when you're trying to learn how to craft in Path of Exile. Again, if you like this type of video in this series, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget the like button, subscribe for more content. I appreciate that very much. That supports the channel tons. And I'll be continuing to make more of these crafting guides in this entire series. And I hope that everyone who's watching the entire series will have learned how to craft properly. But if you have any questions, please fire away. Let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, stay safe. Keep rocking.